I'll tell you what, Gav, you'd have loved to have played there. There's some great teas. It's unbelievable.
Oh, Gav, honestly,
it's an important factor. It's often
Mate,
overlooked as well.
the only
It's
factor.
a proper. It's a proper spread. Short boundary square and a great tea. I love it.
It's the kind of tea, Gav, that you want batting second at number 9.
Yeah.
Where you can fill your boots and put your feet up and not have to, and then you can have a little sleep as well if you need to. Honestly.
Aslington went through it years ago, went through a phase doing this week's second 11. They might not have done it in 50. But for tea, they had pie, chips, peas and gravy.
Oh.
So you don't turn that down, do you? So I'm there.
No.
There must have been short trial opening batting. And I couldn't turn it down. I had to have it. And honestly, I felt terrible walking out to buy it. Honestly, well,
were you pulling a caravan?
Yeah, well, we're doing that anyway, Dean. Really. Honestly, all I wanted to do, when all you want to do is just have a kip because you've eaten too much. That's all I wanted to do.
Norden, send more house to save the house.
So hello and a warm welcome to all our listeners. We have another great episode tonight with another top guest, the one and only Dean Barlow. Great that we've got Dean on so we can get a view from inside the dressing room as well as the usual input from the man with the gloves, our Joe Martin. But as always, we'll just say a quick hello to the rest of the gang. So tonight we have self, Joe Martin and Gary Morehouse. So I'll just say hello to the two chaps first. So Joe, how are we?
Very well, thank you, Gav. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. What have you been up to this weekend apart from getting a glorious 12 points for the Super House?
Yeah, no, it was 12 points in the dirt this weekend. Which was good. I didn't do a lot, Gav. I went running and that was pretty much it. But it was a good weekend. As I'm sure you'll be able to testify to. As you get older, it becomes more difficult to do more. You've had a game on a Sunday.
I usually followed up with about 15 pounds. So. Gary, how are you, pal? I've spoken to you for a while. Is everything all right?
Yeah, it's all good down here, Gav. Good to see you, mate. Good luck with the standing hosting duties.
Well, it's not going to run as smoothly as when Jeremy does it, but I'll give it a go.
You'll be top dollar.
Dino, welcome, Dino.
Cheers, Gav.
How are we, mate? We okay?
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you.
So basically, since the last podcast, first 11 have played 2 further games. That was a loss to Walsden and then a return to winning ways against Norden. Mass were never my strong point, but I made that 3, played 3, won 2. Yeah?
Correct, Gav.
That's a good start. So, Dino, we'll just jump in with you. And obviously, Gary, I think you saw a bit of a stream, didn't you?
Yeah, just a bit of it, yeah.
Yeah. And obviously, I hope Joe Martin were watching because he would be out stumps. So, but we'll go to you, Dino. So, great to get back to winning ways yesterday. Looking at the card, 60-odd from Frankie, good 20-odd from Young Henry, Farfra from Ruan, not forgetting you, a fine 50-odd from as many balls from you. So, talk us through it, mate.
Yeah, good. Really, really good. I think we lost a few wickets early and there was 20-odd from Joe in there as well, actually, that really sort of steadied us because otherwise we'd have been a little all over the place, I think. And so we were, what were we? I think we were 115 for 5 when I went in. But before that, it was, I think, I was thinking about this earlier, actually, and sort of what was important and whatnot. And I think, actually, if I think about it, Ben made a really good decision, actually, in letting Henry go before I went. Because when Henry went in, they were bowling two left arm slows, one from either end. And I think when he went in, they started changing things that they didn't really need to change. They brought an off spinner on from the top end who bowled a half tracker and a couple of full balls that Henry swept. And I think it really messed up where they were getting overs from and what was gonna play out for the rest of the innings. So I actually think all credit to Ben actually for sort of changing that on the fly and sending Henry first, who did really, really well. yeah, and then after that, me and Frankie just finished it off with a few boundaries, and good fun.
Happy days. The one thing that I've noticed so far this year is they really seem to be getting some good partnerships together all the way down the order, which is great to see. I know it's a cliche, but it's it's been good to see, really. And it's even the game that we got beat, we some decent partnerships in that. And
one of the things we spoke about prior to starting the season, one of the things that Ben's quite big on it this year is just trying to soak up a bit of pressure and trying to stay in games a little bit longer and not losing wickets in clusters like we did pretty consistently last year. And we've done pretty well in the first few games. Even the Walsden game that we lost, we were only 30 short on a difficult track chasing 220. So we've done well to stick in there and pick points up even when we are losing, which is something that we didn't do a great deal of last year.
Absolutely, yeah. So you were watching it on the stream, Gary, yeah? What did you see of the game? Did you watch a bit of both innings or just our innings or?
Well, I think it's probably worth noting, Ben won the toss, and at 50 odd for 5, given what Dean's just said about soaking up a bit of pressure hanging in games, that would look like it could have, spiraled as a plan pretty quickly. But fair play to, partnerships down the order there, to put 150 on for only loss of one more wicket. That's what teams used to do to us. We back in the day, I'm not talking recently, but that was my memory a lot of time. We get in ourselves in a pretty reasonable position many occasion, and somebody would come in at 7 or 8 and just smash 60 or something from nowhere, and you're in tatters. So I think again, sort of, I'm not going to comment on shots or anything like that because I don't know how the track was playing and or anything else, but. I think the only notable wicket that I thought, maybe there's a bit of story to hear about that. What happened was Paddy's run out. I mean, first when I saw it, it was like, oh, maybe that's a good bit of fielding, or maybe Francois sold him down the river. But actually, when I looked at it back, Paddy sat on his bat a bit, isn't he? Let's be honest. Yeah, I think so. And then he realises about halfway down track he's got to put a spurt on, and obviously don't make it. But other than that, you can't really say there were crazy shots with her or anything like that. And I think it just looked like again Henry had another on back of his Rams bottom, his little knock there, just hanging around and soaking up a load of balls with Tom and that and Joy. So yeah, it all looked good to get to 200, brilliant. And without, I suppose again got to mention Pretorius coming in, and probably the expectations of the last time we saw him smashing it all round Chatburn Road. Probably the fans especially are probably thinking, we'll have some more of that, please. Yeah. And once he goes for teens, whatever it was, 14, 15, but brilliant, fantastic to see.
And you've made some really great points there, Garrett. I'm not going to discuss the run out for numerous reasons, as is common on this. I wasn't actually watching.
Here we go.
At the time.
Arsene Wenger's in the room again.
Yeah, I didn't see it. But I think your points about having partnerships down the orders really valid, and it's something that I think in previous years we probably would have collapsed to 130, 140 all out. And also with Ruan, although he only got 16, he didn't soak up a lot of the pros bowling. They opened the bowling with him, and he bowled. I think he must have bowled 7 overs first up, and I'd say 3 of those overs Ruan faced from him. So he did a really good job then as well.
He's only 240 in that 16 and off 32 balls, so it's been very, very watchful, hasn't it? And not crash bang wall that Gary was referring to earlier.
Yeah, no, it's good. Dino, I haven't actually discussed with you with your batting, and I might be stealing some of Gav's questions here. But when you came in, I was walking around with Nigel and Joe Beneduce, and we were saying, looking at it, we'd probably be happy with 170. 180. What were you saying with Frankie whilst you were out there?
Do you know what? I don't remember once having a discussion about what we thought was a good score. it was a strange track because some were coming through nicely and others were really sticking in the pitch. It was difficult to pull on. They bowled a reasonable amount of, not necessarily half trackers, but balls that you would say were on the short side, and both myself and Frankie struggled to get those away. And it was, when it was a little shorter, it was just sticking in, but when it was full, it was coming on quite nicely. And it wasn't turning a great deal either. And so in hindsight, maybe you'd have looked at it and you'd have said 180-ish, probably, with just a bit of variation that was in it. But yeah, I don't think we discussed it once, actually. Frankie might have had it in his own head, but when I'm batting, I need to be left alone, so I don't usually get involved in those discussions, Joe.
Yeah, of course.
So at the end of innings then, what was the feeling in the dressing room, Dean and Joe? Were you quietly confident with that, or did you think, we're still in a game here, or?
Yeah, I think so. I think that we were happy with 200. I think getting 200 is always a psychological advantage to get past that mark. But they have some really good players. They've got a great opening batter, and the pro is fantastic as well. So, previously we've played against them, and one's been 80 not out, one's been 70 not out, and they've walked off. Yeah. So I think that's always in the back of your mind, but we were positive and aggressive. I think so that was good.
They were a little light. I think they would be willing to admit they were a little bit lighter than maybe they had been last year in the batting department. So actually, I think 180, 200, and when we got to 200, yeah, I think we were all reasonably confident that we could go and do that, as long as you get the pro or you don't allow them to build partnerships. I think we were pretty in the game at around 200.
And like I say, especially then when you make early inroads, what would it, first 4 of the wickets, 6, and then 14 for 2. So talk us through Ruan's bowling then. 5 wickets for 54 runs off 14 overs.
Yeah,
doing a lot with it, or?
Yeah, he's doing a lot with it. Both, seaming it both ways and swinging it, bowling some quite quick bouncers as well. Right. And I don't know what Dean thought, and I don't know what Gary thought, but there's obviously a slightly different dynamic having a fast bowling pro to having Paz, who contains and takes wickets by building pressure. Ruan was is probably more aggressive in with his intent. He was he was bowling at the stumps, and he bowled very well.
It gives a bit of a different dynamic in general, doesn't it? Because Ruan came out, and like Joe said, he was bowling quick. Me and Ben were both stood at slip, thinking, I don't really fancy whether he's flying through.
They won it first over, Dino, weren't they?
Oh my God!
Through.
I put my arms up when it hit the boundary rope, so it gives us a little bit of a different dynamic, because he came in with so much energy and didn't like. I think he took a little bit of an exception that the captain wasn't wearing a helmet, and so he got right into him straight away, and it gets you going a little bit, doesn't it? Yeah. And that's not to say that you don't, that it's not no kind of slant on Paz at all, because what Paz does is brilliant in a completely different manner. But what it does is I think it got us all going a little bit, and there's a bit of words and a bit of energy out there. It's good.
And sometimes, I guess, like when you got Paz coming on, I know he's opened the bowling on occasion, but more often than not, it'll be for second change or something.
Yeah.
When you've got a seam bowling professional who's going to choose the best end, normally if you've got Joey, Tom Walker in this instance, but somebody else opening the bowling, seam bowling, then I suppose they've got to just adapt slightly, haven't they, to having a seam bowling pro at the other end.
It's definitely, Gary. I think it put them on the back foot a little bit, actually.
Yeah.
I don't think they were. He did bowl really quick. I haven't stood
His
that
first
far back for quite a while.
Were rapid.
They were sharp. They were really quick.
Yeah.
My hands
He's
still
very
hurted.
skiddy. he's very skiddy as well. So when he is bowling those shorter ones, there's no massive cue in his action either for when he's bowling them. So he caused a few issues, and I can imagine it was a little bit uncomfortable for him, to be perfectly honest with you.
Was there a lot of shoulder in it? Because he didn't look to have like an express run up or anything. You know, like
No.
you weren't like look as though he were quick at crease, but I mean, from what you were saying, he were obviously quick through air.
Yeah, I think it's all in his action. He really whips his arm over, doesn't he, Joe?
Right.
Yeah.
But I think on the point that you made there, Gaz, where you're talking about potentially our opening bowlers having to adjust to bowling with an opening bowler, a professional that opens the bowling at the other end. Enough can't be said actually about Hawkeye and the spell that he bowled, because to be able to go from doing what Joey's done for such a long time, which is to open the bowling with the keeper back and a slip, and to now be able to bowl, different variations with the keeper up through the middle overs and go at 2s and 3s. It has been incredible for him from the last year and this year, actually, maybe even 2019 as well. He was doing it a little bit, Joe, wasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely.
He was very good.
And especially bowling at someone like Zaid.
7 overs, one for 14 at a time where they might be looking to accelerate.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Right, Gaz.
So we've had a start to the season, won the Ron Singleton against that lot over at Road. So it's a good start. So after 3 games, like we say, we've won 2. What's the mood in the dressing room? Are we happy with the start? Are we quietly confident, or are we, is there a bit of frustration? What's the mood in the dressing room, lads?
From my perspective, Gav, I think that it's a really nice place to be in the dressing room at the minute. There's a lot of cohesion and positivity about, I think, and also there's no. But we're not sort of getting ahead of ourselves. But I actually think it's the manner in which we're playing. When you look back at the Walsden game, although we lost by 30 runs, we took that game really deep, and chasing over 200 is always difficult. And as I said previously, we probably would have collapsed before. Yeah. But we're batting for longer periods of time, and it might not work all season. There are some games that can get away from you. But I think that we're in a reasonable place, but we can't get complacent. I don't think, just because we've had a good start.
So would you say, Joe, then, and would you say that has been a noticeable change in tactics from yourselves? Is it something you've talked about, or is it just experience and it's a natural progression as a batting unit or as a side?
I think it is. I think it's probably a bit of both. It's obviously quite a deliberate thing. As I say, we had spoken about soaking up pressure, but actually, if you look at the people that have kept us in the games, both this weekend and then against Ramsbottom, Tom Walker's 18 and Henry's 17. Yeah. To say that it's experience would maybe a little, is maybe a little harsh on them. At Ramsbottom especially, and then Henry again this weekend, they have really, really kept us in games and got us to a point where we can go and win that game. Yeah. And so, yes, it is deliberate. We are trying to stay in it a little bit more and to not lose wickets in clusters, as I said. But it's not. It may be experience for some, but the way that Henry and Tom have both batted in those games has been unbelievable for lads of their age with their experience.
And I think how they've applied themselves not just in the batting but with the ball and in the field. Tom probably hasn't bowled. I think he only bowled 4 overs at the weekend, but he took a really important wicket, and he's also he's a young lad, but he's also playing in a good team where some weeks someone's going to bowl really well and take those wickets, and he did his job first up by getting that early wicket because their captain can be really destructive. So he did a fantastic job as well. Dean,
if I can just ask you, as the guest tonight, you've had a decent start to the season, haven't you? Obviously, good innings on Sunday, a 40-odd at Walsden. Talk to us about your start to the season. Have you worked on anything specific over the winter, or have you just thought, change of attitude, or what?
Yeah, a definite change of attitude. I have actually changed something technically, but I'm putting absolutely no emphasis on that whatsoever as far as actually, the runs that I've scored. It is just it's an attitude thing. I'd sort of got myself into a place over the last couple of years where I felt as though I was I needed to bat in a way that maybe didn't. Well, it doesn't suit anybody. I was trying to go from ball one all the time, and it just wasn't working for me. And it was again Ben that came to me at the start of the season and just said, right, just get simple things that you should learn when you're 18 years old that I seem to not have picked up. But give yourself a bit of time and allow yourself to sort of build an innings. And I think both against Walsden with 20 odd, and then again this weekend, if you look at, especially this weekend, if you look at the way that the innings went, I started slowly, and then both myself and Frankie were kicked on later on as soon as we saw a bit of light at the end of the tunnel there.
And Frankie's had a decent start to the season as well, hasn't he? Scored a few runs and
yeah, he's had a great start. Absolutely fantastic.
He's invaluable, really. He really is invaluable to us. He's to have him going in when we were losing wickets on Sunday was just what we needed to have.
But that experience, isn't it? All joking aside, it's that experience, and it's just what we needed to steady the ship. And
he's got great temperament as well, Gav.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's probably our best player with spin as well. And so to have him going in with the pro bowling and there was another left arm slow at the other end when he went in, that's exactly who you need to go out there and just soak up a bit of pressure and play it around.
So, looking forward to next weekend, Haslingden, isn't it, at home?
Yep, that's right.
They're promoted this year. They've had a decent start. They've also won 2 of the first 3. What are we expecting from Haslingden?
Well, Dino might be better answering this one. But they're always in for a good game, I think. They're a good team. Yeah, and I think they'll probably have a sub-pro this weekend as well. So,
the pro hasn't managed. The pro hasn't managed to come. I think he was Western Australian wicket keeper. He was. I'm going to sound like a right loser because I know all this, aren't I, Joe? He finished second in the Sheffield Shield run scoring table this year. So he was a real pro, and he was. He's also a wicket keeper. He was going to wicket keep for them. So I think actually they're having to not necessarily make do, but they haven't got the first choice of what they necessarily wanted. But they're a good side. They've signed Minnie Barder this year from Tenny Scholes, and he's a good player. They've quite a few lads as well, actually, that bat and bowl, so they do bat reasonably deep as well, because they do have a few lads that do both. So they're a good team, and they'll do well. And I think that they'd have been a little bit of a dark horse for the top 4 or 5 had the pro come over.
They'll have Coleman in middle order. He's a decent player in team.
Yeah. A good player.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Lewis as well, and they'll be tough to beat, I would imagine.
Looking at Joe, you mentioned earlier in our conversation, just taking the focus away from the first team for a second. It's been a decent start for some of the young lads, hasn't it? Looking at the second 11, they've also, from 3 games, have won 2. Looked like we had a strong side out yesterday. We've knocked them off 1 down, haven't we? 190 for 1. Good to see Simi start the season well.
Yeah, always good to see Simi do well. He's a fantastic club.
Yeah, he is.
Club player. He'll do anything. He played on Sunday and then played on Monday and for the fourths and gave them a little bit of leadership in that team whilst they were fielding, and so it's great to see. Yeah, I think the seconds have had a really good start since I think they lost the first game, but since then they've bowled well and they've batted well, and the reports from Matt have been really positive. So, and obviously there's a lot of focus on the youngsters in that team, so it's been great to see them doing well.
Absolutely, yeah, and it looks as though some of the performances have been shared about as well. I mean, the on-stager Step to Haggerty got 80 odd the other week, didn't he?
He did, and then he went on holiday. That's a very familiar. He used to do that very frequently, didn't he? He used to get 80 odd, go on holiday to make sure he kept his place.
I didn't know whether we'd signed Phil Haggerty or Judith Chalmers. It was unbelievable.
I would hope that Haggard has put a considerable contribution to the end of season doing the fines pot for going away a week after getting into.
Yeah, but some of the youngsters have done really well. Tom York Robinson got his first 50 for the second team.
Yes,
and
I saw that.
Yeah,
I did actually see that. Yes,
he batted really well apparently.
Yes, it was very good, very in control, and it was good to see. A couple of other noticeable performances. There's been quite a few, but just one or two that I've just pulled out. Young Joe Edgar, he's already had 100, first 100 for the force, and then a 5-foot weekend after. That's not bad, is it?
Fantastic. One of the APP players. It's been really good to see. Joe Edgar he's got really solid defence, but can attack. His 100. I watched him get his 100, and it was faultless. It was such a good knock against. There were some young players in their team, but there were also some experienced ones as well. Yeah. And it was fantastic to see. It was brilliant, and he's going to be a great player in the future.
Yeah, I saw him back once or twice last year. Actually, I was quite impressed. I must admit. And I think his brother got 100 on the same day as well, didn't he? For that might have cost Kelvin a couple of quid.
Yeah, I think it did. Yeah.
And Georgie Durkin, 120 odd. That's not bad, is it? It's not a bad start. And then followed up with a 20 odd opening batting for twos.
Yeah, absolutely. George is another one. He seems really settled this year, and he's working hard on. I mean, before he got the 100 this weekend, on the Thursday, he was working with Blaise on and a couple of other players, and working really hard at his game. And it's really welcoming to see. Actually, he's a great lad, and I'm really pleased that he's doing so well.
He's chipped in with a couple of wickets, hasn't he, as well, I think?
Yeah.
Gary, have you got anything?
Not specific points to bring up, just a comment on some second performance or juniors and stuff like that. I mean, weekend having sort of Finchy, Blaise, Matt in your team, you couldn't really have three more experience, I say qualified in general sort of club cricket terms, people to learn off. Bat, ball, fielding, you've got it all covered there. Attitude, captaincy, dedication, attitude. Seriously, if those young lads can't learn, how to play good cricket off those three, then you'll not have better chance at many other clubs. So that were really, I know sort of Finchy contributed a lot in the win and probably chasing 180 odd. Matt maybe weren't going to juggle the batting order around too much and wanted, something at the top, but, to not even need himself and Blaise, chasing, they chased him down in 20 odd overs, didn't they? 27 overs, chased 190 or something.
Yeah.
So fair play to him. So yeah, I mean that's great to see, isn't it? Because sometimes your first team's doing well, and you look at the second team league, and it's not just our club, but it can be the same for a lot of clubs, and it's not always the case that the seconds will do well. Just because your firsts are doing well. Sometimes it does happen like that because you get a competition of places or you get a good pool, and it happens. But it doesn't always happen like that. And I think to see him having a good start, Matt will be really pleased, I would imagine. And like I say, the on the horizon, those lads performing well, fourths and thirds, and coming in and holding their own in seconds, and obviously some already getting a sniff in the first. That does probably allay anybody's fears that there isn't a continuity plan in place, as it were.
Yeah, no, Gaz, that's a fantastic point again. And it's great to see the threes and fours doing well as well and winning games. And Rami are notoriously always have strong second and third 11s. So I get them mixed up, but our fourth team, I think, took them down to the wire on Bank Holiday Monday. So that kind of grittiness that we were talking about, and making sure that they bat for long periods of time and stay in games, it seems to be filtering through, which is really positive to see. There were more 50s on Bank Holiday Monday for Keegan DeVries and Dec Metcalf. So it's a really positive thing, I think.
I watched about an hour and a half of the 14 game the week before, I think, Joe, when I was picking my car up, and watched Elliot Johnson bat, and he's another one that it will be a very, very good first team cricketer. He looks watched him bat for probably an hour and a half, and he looked again really, really good, very organised. Yeah, very, very good.
It wouldn't, and do you know what? It won't surprise me when the likes of Joe Edgar and Elliot Johnson and Dec Metcalf, people like that, when they get a chance in the second team, that they'll take it. And you don't have to be worried about opening the batting with them or batting them at 3 or bowling them first change or whatever. You know that they'll give a good account of themselves, and
they'll be picked on merit, won't they? They're not going to be place fillers, any of them. They've all got a great deal of talent, so I'm sure we'll be absolutely fine.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a really, really good start to see those youngsters doing well in the 3s, 4s, and 2s. What a strange order to go in. Those teams.
Sounds like my batting. That used to be my 3-4, my first 3 scores at season, John. Not much better after that.
Me too, usually, Gaz. I won't worry about it.
No, do yourself a disservice, Gav. In one of the friendlies, actually, Joel Sharp, we were talking about how far he lived from Cone. He lives relatively near, and we were asking, well, how long does it take you to get there, Sharp? He went, between 8 and 7 minutes. When has anybody ever put anything in that order before? Excellent.
It's a very, very Joel Sharp thing to do.
Yeah, he's a good lad as well. He's had a good start. He'll be in some runs soon, I think.
Well, as well, this weekend it's the first round of the Worsley Cup, and we've got Rottenstall. So obviously, there's no one going to know more about them than you, Dinos. Give us the inside track. What do we expect from Rottenstall? One of my favourite clubs, Rottenstall.
Yeah, mine too.
A lot of town for them, but what can we expect, mate?
I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. From what I hear, they've got some really useful players. The opening bowl, they've got an opening bowler that's really quite good. Matt Kershaw's a good batter in either division. Scores plenty of runs when he plays. And there's a few others that are really decent players, and they could cause an upset to anyone, I think, on the day. Especially if they get a performance from a pro. But from what I hear, the opening bowler might have a little strain, so I don't know if he's going to bowl or not. I know he didn't bowl this weekend when I looked at the scorecard, so I'm not entirely sure, to be honest with you, mate. We'll just we'll have to see where they're at. But I think that they're more than capable of causing an upset to anyone. I think on the day they've got 2 or 3 decent bowlers, and if they can find some overs elsewhere and a sub pro, and
have we got any? Are we a full side, or have we got anybody missing? Or
it would be pure speculation at this point, Gav, as the team hasn't been announced. But I believe there are 1 or 2 missing. Yes.
Right. Gary, you need to get pads on with it.
Yeah, no, I don't think you're that desperate, but Jesus. And Rottenstall, they've won they've won 2 of the first 3 in the league. So they'll be carrying, a bit of momentum and a bit of confidence well on the line. I know they chased 280, didn't they, at the weekend, and the pro got 150 odd or something. So, obviously that's a big chunk out of that. But I think it's one of the. Where's the cup? Sometimes, obviously, a lot of different things can happen, but using your bowlers, using your 5-6 bowlers or whatever, often, it can be the main difference. And you look at our strength in depth, and without throwing the mockers on it, you'd like to think that we sort of hold court in that department first. But like I say, on the day, upsets happen. So I think we'll just have to be on his guard just because they're in the second division. Don't mean to say that they're going to be a walkover.
Absolutely.
They're probably a little bit more geared towards the bowling side as well, actually. Which if you can get a good start, if you bowl first and get a good start in a cup game, and you get someone, regardless of division, 50 odd for 4 or thereabouts, you back yourself to potentially get them out in a manner where you could chase that down. So regardless, I think that cup sides are probably good bowling sides and complemented by batting, and they're a good bowling side, and it's probably the strongest suit. So
yeah,
be a good game.
Let's hope we apply ourselves, and we're in the hat for the next round. Come the end of play, hopefully, fingers crossed.
I say, you know, as defending champions, you don't want to fall at the first, do you?
Absolutely.
Although we do have a history of doing that, Gaz.
Sorry.
Sorry to put a dampener on it, chaps.
I almost wish that we were playing away this weekend, to be perfectly honest with you, because it would have been nice to go and have a game there, but never mind.
And it's only 5 minutes from where you live.
It's I could have a few beers afterwards.
Walk home.
Yeah, and on that note, haven't they just made the bar renamed it the Peterwood 1227 bar or something in honour of him? So I'm sure that'll take some christening as well. So
you played against Peterwood, weren't you, guys?
Yeah. Did I make my debut against Ronstal at Rishton? Anyway, but played against Peterwood, and I think, you know, to be fair, I mean, he was a super player even then. But I believe the sort of, you know, 10 years earlier, when he sort of broke league records and stuff like that, from what Stan and Rusty and Iggy used to tell me, you know, you played them, and that was, I mean, they had a few good players, don't get me wrong, but he was the one who they wanted to see the back of. He just looked like he'd so much time, played every shot, and classy. You know what I mean? It wasn't smashing it around or whatever, even though, you know, he could throw a long handle at it if he needed to, but everything was just classy. All shots, front and back foot, and I'd never really seen an amateur player play so many good shots off the back foot as him. He was, and I probably 2 or 3 seasons played against him, so I didn't see him. You know, Jez had probably come into it when Jez was starting up and he were whatever. But so shame, but good to see that they're remembering him in such a way, and that's, you know, like a permanent reminder for all visitors, isn't it, to see that?
Yeah.
And
well said.
And an extremely nice man as well, guys. Always had time to talk about cricket, and you know, wasted his time trying to improve me a little bit a few times, but a lovely man.
Yeah,
very nice.
Good.
Okay, so I think that rounds everything up for this evening's chat. So just finally, just give my thanks to Joe, Martin, Gary, and also Dino. So thank you very much for your contributions this evening. And just before I leave, if I could just give a reminder to all our listeners about the charity T20 on Friday, the 13th of May. That's Lowerhouse versus Padiham at Lowerhouse. It is in the aid of Casual Minds Matter. Entry starts at 6:15. Entry is by donation. Suggested £2 adults and £1 concessions. And both Lowerhouse and Padiham are looking to ensure this is an annual event. If people are, you know, they're at a loose end and they want to go down and watch a good game of cricket against 2 good local sides, it'd be great to see you. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you soon.
Norden, send more house to save the house.